We are recording.
All right, let's call to order this regular monthly meeting of the Peabody Public Library Board of Trustees for January 13th, 2020. We will note that a quorum is present, and I will ask if any of the members have had an opportunity to review the minutes from the December meeting and would feel comfortable making a motion regarding those.
I would move that we approve the minutes.
Mike
Peabody
has moved to approve the minutes as presented. Is there a second? Nikki has seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes from the December 9th, 2020 regular meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Greg, I wanted to remind everybody that Beth is not here today, so Mike is working as Secretary Pro Tem.
Thank you, sir. No job too big or too small? Thank you so much. So our Secretary Pro Tem, Dr. Mayweather. Thank you very much. And with that, it looks like on the next item on the agenda appears to just be the director's report.
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to cover with you is the 1782 order that we received that tells us what our approved budget is and what our revenues are, approved revenues for the year. And as you can see, there is a disparity of around $200,000. I do want to tell you that I did speak with a representative from the DLGF today. We can spend the approved amount, which is $1.5 million in some odd sense. And because we have a healthy bank account, we could do that with no problems at all. Or we could, again, deduct by 13%. Make that our goal and break even. But because what I'm getting at is we may want to consider spending down the bank account. So I'm just letting you know, and I would like to have discussion about that. I just want to hear your viewpoints about it. Does that make sense?
I mean, you go ahead and do that now. What are the advantages of spending down the bank account?
I think it may help us in the long run.
I'm sorry. What are the advantages of spending down the bank account?
As you know, we do not get our full amount for the debt service payment because we have a very nice bank account. And so we don't get, and it could be the way the payments arrive, the cyclical way that the payments are made. But if we spend down, we will probably get more tax revenues to cover the debt service fund. Does that make sense?
Okay.
We are currently using operating money to pay our debts, not all of it, certainly not all of it, but approximately $20,000, $30,000.
And given the 1782 order, the option would be either to reduce our expenditures that we budgeted for by approximately 13%, or spend accumulated cash. Is that
You said it perfectly.
Okay. And I just had those questions. Do you need authorization or guidance from us as to which the board prefers?
Yeah, I want to know from you guys what you prefer me to do. I do have to tell you that we have some big expenditures coming up. So I'm just reminding you of that. And the other thing I found out is I need to replace 2 hot water pumps that actually control the temperature in the auditorium, and that's going to be about $22,000. I mean, the basement needs painted. I had my whole list in my head, and of course now it's out of my head, but the cement steps need fixed. We probably need to re-landscape because it's looking kind of bad out there. I mean, there are things that we need to have done. So, and then the other thing you have to consider is down the road, 22 forward, That's when we're going to get hit by the COVID, having COVID and having less local income tax.
Correct.
So you've got to remember that too. But, we don't have to make a decision tonight. I'm just letting you know.
Could you actually have, and maybe I'm talking to Linda here, if we could put that on next month's agenda as an item, as a carryover item or old business, that may be a good thing to visit, and then it'll give everybody an opportunity to consider it.
Okay. Oh, one other thing I want you to also think about is once we're able to return our furniture back upstairs, I'd rather put washable vinyl furniture that's not 21 years old up there. So there's another expense too. So just FYI. Okay.
Ask a question.
Of
So
course.
that I can think about it, or use that information to think about it, but how are those things that you just listed built into the budget? Are they built into the budget that you made already?
Well, I didn't know about the hot water pumps. It's the things that come across that surprise me. But I'm just letting you know. No, I did not build into or have quotes done on the painting in the basement. No, I did not. Not on all of it. The cement stairs, surprise. The gutters along the building, surprise. So many times the things aren't, I don't have them on my radar.
Am I mistaken, or if we spend down the rainy day fund, don't we have to budget to put it back?
I'm not talking about the rainy day fund.
Okay. You're not
I'm just
talking
talking,
about the rainy fund. Okay.
yeah, I'm not talking about rainy
You're
day.
just talking about excess cash in the bank.
I'm talking about the money that we may not have spent in previous years because we just left it in cash flow. If we didn't, allocate some of it to rainy day, I just left it in cash flow.
What do you think is a safe amount to have in reserve?
I wish I could know that, Mike, because I had no idea about the stairs, and I don't even know what it's going to cost to fix the cement stairs. I imagine that's going to be kind of costly. I like it where we have it right now. So if you look at your cash sheet, you can see what the balance is in the bank. You do have to remember that that's got to go, 6 months before we get our next tax draw. So you can kind of lop off another $600,000 from that amount to get you an idea of where we're at. To me, $1 million in the bank is good.
Yeah, I like a cushion.
You know.
There have been times when we were expecting to get our tax levies and they didn't come in on time either.
And that's exactly why we were, anything that was left over that didn't go specifically into rainy day was just left in cash flow.
And you had talked about the budget being less moving forward, possibly with the years to come.
Well, yeah, with restrictions on the amount of revenues that we get.
Like contracting with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions?
Again, I think we just need, give us some time to think about it, and I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's annual report time, and I am working on that. The number's going to be low, and I'm just going to tell you that now. We knew that going into this, as far as our circulation and every number that we use to show how well we're doing is going to be affected. There's just no way around that. Yes, you've got a quizzical look.
Well, even our subscription services, our online subscription services are down, or are those, I would think those would be up, or at least unaffected.
I'll double check, but I don't think they're up as much. It's kind of like you kind of hope they're going to take, Overdrive and Hoopla are doing fine, Hoopla especially. But I really have to look at the numbers to tell you,
Okay.
and I haven't really, I'm compiling data at this point. But yeah, number of people coming into the building, 82,000, when it was 170,000 last year. So the numbers are down. We've already talked about the cement staircase, and green improvements has already come out. They were actually out yesterday morning and did what they think will fix it temporarily. I know I'm going to have to.
The water, right? It's damaging the staircase?
I'm talking about the cement staircase over on the east side of the building.
Right, but the green improvements fixed something and they fixed what was damaging it, right?
Right, correct.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's exactly correct. So, do you have any questions about that?
And my understanding was that we were going to basically stop the bleeding, and then we would look at remedial stuff on the stairs themselves.
Yes, that's correct. Now, Mark thinks he can do some of like repair work, but as far as actually getting quotes to get the stairs replaced, I haven't done that. I also have not gotten a hold of vendors that can actually replace the metal gutters that we have around the building because they've rusted and there's holes in them. So, and that was part of the issue. But that wasn't a scope of the project for green improvements when they, okay.
I'm just curious, on those cement stairs, how many people have actually traversed those? Those I assume are mainly an emergency exit from the auditorium. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I mean,
Not that it's not an emergency, but these are not the stairs out front. or
No,
anything.
they're not these
I don't know
stairs
that I've
that are-
ever used those stairs.
no, you probably wouldn't have a reason to, but if we would have a fire alarm or something like that, people would certainly be able to use those stairs to exit the
Do
building.
performers use those to bring stuff into, or
No.
do they access the stage? Is that where they access?
Yeah, they can access from the stage, and that's where they probably would access.
Okay.
However, I do have to tell you that when we went through the renovation, the guys that were doing a lot of the work here were going through those doors. They used the doors for that,
Okay.
especially when we were closed.
I would be curious, if we fix those stairs, do they have to be ADA compliant when we fix them? If we're
think
gonna
we
replace them.
Probably do. I mean, I'm trying, you're going the same place I'm going.
Yeah.
Is there some way to,
Remediate
is there
them?
some way to duct tape that? Because it's not something that's used a lot. I mean, I think, it's when Mark said, maybe I could patch it, I was like, well,
Mhm.
I assume the ADA compliance is the design primarily and the pitch and everything. So I'm hoping that he might, maybe that there is a patch sort of thing if they're crumbling. That's exactly where I was going, is if they're not used, can we not spend huge amounts of money on them?
Okay,
But
well,
right now, we're gonna wait to see to make sure the dripping stops and the damage stops, the ongoing.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, the Community Foundation of Whitley County, I did request during our investment, or the Board of Finance meeting that we'll have immediately following this meeting. You need to see the fund balances, so that's why I put that in there. I did speak with Dave Smith today about us going to electronic banking for the Peabody Public Library. As a lot of you know, it's already considered the standard. The reluctance on my part and on Linda's part is that the way we've been doing it, we've really come through with really great audits, and it's kind of like if it's not broke, don't fix it. That being said, you do have to think in terms of down the road, and most likely I will retire at the end of 2024, and so I kind of like to have these kind of things taken care of for that next person coming in, and we're looking at it. It's going to require us having a meeting with Dave and Linda, of course, and then somebody from their Treasury Department, and probably somebody from Banyan who does our data systems as far as accounting, to work through. But my feeling is we really need to do it now because eventually we're going to be told to do it. So we might as well do it right now, and now meaning I'm hoping we can meet before the end of this year. So, and I did want to know how you guys felt about that.
Anybody have strong feelings one way or the other? And when you're talking about online banking, you're meaning basically to remit bills electronically as opposed to writing checks.
That is exactly right.
Okay. Are you grading me tonight? So
No,
I'm doing pretty well here.
Yeah, you are. You are.
I'm grasping a lot. I appreciate that. Okay. I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. I think you're probably right. It probably is moving that direction. I don't see any reason to move in artificially fast, especially if both you and Linda are a little reticent. But anybody else?
For one of my business accounts, I don't even have a checkbook for it anymore and haven't for years. And I do it all online. And it's actually really nice at the end of the year. I just go on and it spits out a nice spreadsheet of every single thing that it paid. And my retired banker mother would be very disappointed in me. But yeah, I'm like, ugh. Yeah, I think it's, once you get it set up, it's so convenient because you just go in and enter the amount and click send and you don't even think about it again.
Okay.
Anybody else? No, my
Online
son.
security.
Yeah, and the banks are, especially Star Bank, I do have a checkbook with Star Bank for that account, but their log on and I find to be very good. I feel really secure using it, so.
Okay. The encumbrances are included, and I think we have that as an action on the agenda. FFCRA, as many of you, as you may know, I really assumed that those were going to be extended when they passed the FFCRA for the end of the year, and it did not. So I wanted to find out from you if you wanted me to continue it for our staff. And I was thinking through June of this year. But I wanted to open that up for discussion because I'd like your guidance on that.
And when you say extend that, it's not to create new 2021 benefits. It's basically to extend the protections that existed before the additional 2 weeks and as they fall in different ways, but basically to continue those as available to staff through June.
Correct. And then what I was thinking, I think you said this was, so I do have some staff members that have had to quarantine, and they did use a portion of it. To me, the remainder would be available to them through the end of June.
Just the remainder, not the whole.
Correct. But I wanted to continue it on because I think it's helpful for people.
Right.
It's a tough time.
Are there any thoughts about that? I personally think that's a good idea. But
Is there a big financial commitment to that, or?
I look at it this way, I already schedule, when I do their salaries, I do it for 52 weeks. So how they take their 52 weeks, no, it's not a huge financial strain on us. Does that make sense? Okay.
Can you tell us approximately how many days have been used already from this?
I'm gonna say probably 16 total.
cumulative, everybody?
Yes,
Okay, that's not, so people aren't abusing it.
not at all.
And it sounds like you're saying it's not a financial burden because they're not being covered by somebody else. It was already worked into the budget to pay them anyway.
For the most part, but I mean, you're right, that's a good point. I may have somebody that has to stay over 2 hours that maybe didn't get paid 2 hours, but it's not been, because the number of hours have been so limited, it's not been a huge financial strain for us.
No, the staff has been really good through this for the most part, so. Does anyone feel comfortable moving to extend those protections through June of 2021?
Lori Shipman will make a motion.
It's been moved to extend the FFCRA benefits through June of 2020, through the end of June 2021 by Lori. Is there a second?
Carmen Jagger will second.
Carmen seconded. Is there further discussion? Chris?
On number 5, it's still going to be considered COVID-19 or related illnesses like COVID-19 related?
Correct.
Okay. Oh,
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to extend those benefits through the end of June 2021 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes apparently unanimously. Mary?
I just wanted you to be aware that our hotspots that we currently have are supplied by Sprint, and we've been notified that the service on those will end January 1st of 2022. So Beth and I are looking at other options through Verizon and AT&T for the government loan programs, and I'm waiting to hear back from them. So I'm trying to stay on top of it because they certainly didn't want the day to come, and we're like, oh no, because the hotspots are pretty popular.
That was, I remember when we first got those and wondered how they would float.
Mhm.
And that's great. Yeah, let's keep them going.
Okay. I did double check, and Julius Snodgrass's family has not, or did not indicate how the money was to be spent. I did want to talk to Dave Smith, and I did talk to him a little bit about whether or not we should maybe invest the money until we're ready to spend it. And he can get back with me to give us some ideas if that's something you'd like us to do, because it is kind of a big chunk of change. So I guess I just want you to know about this, and we can talk about it more at the, finance meeting after, but just had to bring that up. Then the investment policy, again, we'll go over it at the Board of Finance meeting. Corson's fire alarm, we do have to replace the panel. It's going to be about $5,000. It's 21 years old, and doesn't have parts, it can't fix it, so we need to replace it. And then we will be able to replace strobes or the fire alarms themselves as needed. And so I want you to be aware of that expense. And then we did have the intrusion monitoring. It was a digital type of a thing, and it wasn't communicating well, and there was an alarm going off almost every day. So we've got that replaced with a digital system, and it's working fine. There's a big expense here. The security camera replacement, I do want to replace the security cameras because we only have 4 people in the building in the evening and on the weekends. And I think it's really important for us to have kind of a bigger monitor that would hang outside the adult services room, so the person sitting at the desk would be able to see outside the building, inside the building, and I really think it's important that we do that. So Butch Sterner came out and did a look, and he's supposed to send me a quote of what it will cost to replace the current camera and security system. Do you have any questions about that? And I'm going to have cameras installed in the meeting rooms as well. So, especially on the weekends, once we get back to normal, you know how busy our meeting rooms were before, I just think it's a safety thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kelly Shreese has agreed to facilitate a supervisory retreat for us to come up with a plan, at least a tentative plan to phase back in once people have been vaccinated and the COVID numbers have gone down, and we can return to some sort of normalcy. So. And then I sent you our updated evaluation forms for the line staff and for the supervisors. Okay, before you go on, Greg, I had a couple of things. Sorry, I do this to you guys every time.
Okay.
I've decided, I have had, I'll back up a bit. So since we went from 4 point-of-service desks to 2 point-of-service desks, even though we have 16 people now, as opposed to having 22, at this time, because we haven't returned the same amount of business that we had before, I'm able to allow people to take time off. So we had really strict rules about vacation and how many people we had to have in the building. And I'm trying to be more flexible with the staff with those regards, because we have a really great crew right now, and I really don't want to lose any more people. So what I've done is I have asked Christy Witten, Karen Blake, Madeline Roush, and Katie Southern to serve on a vacation advisory council or committee. And they're going to look at maybe more equitable way to allow people to have time off. And this also came up because, I don't know if you remember, a couple years ago, we did make it so that you could not take vacation on Christmas because we already have so many days off that it got to be really hard to staff the building. So we went to no vacations. I had a staff member come to me with a really once-in-a-lifetime event, and I could not say no to that. So I'm hoping that this committee, because it's made out of people, managers and line staff, that we can come up with an equitable way to allow people to have time off. And I wanted you to be aware of that. So, Kroger Community Rewards donation was $56.61 for the last quarter. You should, on your table in front of, or on your place, have a quote from Technical Control Solutions. They are the people that service our HVAC system. And that's the amount to have the hot water pumps upgraded. So, do you want the whole long story of what happened, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What has happened is when they came out to do their preventive maintenance, they noted that the auditorium was really, really cold. And because we haven't been in there and haven't used it, we just found out. So what they ended up doing was try to get more warm air in there. And they shut off the outdoor cold. So the cold air has to come on. If you guys remember, we have a system that the boiler and the chiller run together to make the air and the air handling unit comfortable so they can be blown out in the specific section of the library. In the auditorium, they're what's called a valve, that the liquid goes around. And for whatever reason, when they designed it back in 2010, when they did the build out, the amount of fluid that can get through is limited. And it was kind of chilly back there anyways. But because we moved the boilers from the middle of the building to the end of the building, it's got that much further to go. So it's making that issue even worse. So what they want to do is give us larger pumps. Now, the pumps we have right now are 21 years old. So it could be down the road we would have had to replace them anyways. But they suggest we replace them now so that we can get enough fluid back there so they can run through what's called the valves so that we can heat up that room. Because the fix, we can't do the fix because the server room runs off the same air handling unit as the auditorium. The server room has to be kept at 60 degrees. Well, it's really cold for people back in the auditorium. So it's kind of an issue we've had anyways for the past 11 years, and now we're going to be forced to take care of it, which we need to anyways. But does that explain it? Because the scope of the project for the boiler room had everything to do with moving the boilers from here to there, I know they specifically weren't going to do the pumps because they were trying to save us money. And I don't even think they took into consideration the issue with the auditorium. I don't even know if they knew about it. So, does that make sense?
And that anticipated my question, which was a Don Langlow sort of a question, which was, why didn't the engineer give us a heads up on that? But what you're saying is that was outside the scope of things, and these boilers, is it boilers we're talking about replacing?
Right, the boilers.
Boiler pumps.
The boiler pumps, correct.
Are sort of at the end of their useful life anyway.
Correct.
Well, it looks like you're going to replace them with VFDs, so you probably get better efficiency out of them anyway.
Right. So, and then I think I already talked to you about speaking to the DLGF rep and the money we can spend or not spend. Okay. So yes, now I've covered everything I need to cover.
Did you want to try to proceed with those repairs on those boiler pumps, or is that a think about it for a month? Or?
No, it's not a think about it for a month. I was just going to take care of it
Okay.
because it's a repair.
Yeah,
you
are
know,
there
and
any
it's-
objections to that? That makes sense to me.
Would you like a motion for that to approve that, or is this a repair
If
anyway?
you-
Yeah, it's a repair. I can take
That's
care of
fine.
repairs,
Just let
so
it go that way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
no problem.
Anything else? Okay, well, it looks like we are next to consider the encumbrance resolution. And Mary, if you could explain that, and then is there a typo in there where it says encumbered purchase without an E?
Oh, you're right, there is.
Uh,
I'll put an E in there, but I
That's
can...
okay. I don't think I think that's obviously just a Scrivener's error. That's not a big deal. Could you tell us, I assume is this our normal, I was going to say year end, but.
Yes, this is, every year we do this where so we've ordered something, it hasn't come in, we're taking it out of 2020 and we're moving this forward so that we can pay those bills when they come in.
Any questions regarding this resolution or the need for it? And if there are none, I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
So moved.
Lori Shipman has moved to adopt the resolution to encumber operating fund. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Nikki seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the resolution to encumber the operating fund as presented, presented with the correction noted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. That'll be distributed around. And we also have another thing that is oftentimes dealt with at our January or December meetings, I believe, the resolution to transfer appropriations, if I understand correctly. And basically, we end up with some funds with a little extra and some funds a little short at the end of the year, and they're supposed to be evened up. I know I've probably misstated that, Mary. Would you go ahead and explain it, please?
Sure, what this is the extra cash that we have from the budget. And you have to remember that some of the bills today that you will approve later in the claims will actually come out of the budget form that you have in your packet. So I had to wait till Linda got all that information down and back to me, and I couldn't get this in your board packet because I had to wait for it's one of those, is it the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart? At any rate, what I want to do is, there should be like $71,000 left over at the end of the year, once we've paid all of our claims. And what I want to do is take $35,000 of it and move it to the rainy day fund so that we can build that fund back up. And then I also want to use $35,000 of it to put it in the bond and interest redemption fund so that we have money from the operating fund to pay our debt service fund.
Any questions regarding the resolution to transfer appropriations? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
I would make a motion, we adopt the resolution.
Mike has made the motion to adopt the resolution to transfer appropriations out of the 2020 budget. Is there a second?
Second by Chris.
Chris seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And the resolution is adopted. We will have the formal written resolution moving along. Is there any further business to come along? Don't leave after we adjourn. We still have a finance board meeting. All of us are the finance board.
Yeah.
The only difference is that the treasurer chairs that, I think. Isn't that correct?
So what'll actually happen is, when we open the meeting, Chris, you need to approve the officers, which would be you as the president of the Board of Finance, and then Beth Bloom as the secretary for the Board of Finance.
So-
And then after that's done, we can go ahead and just follow the agenda that I have.
But
in your
before-
board packet.
Before we do that, is there any other business in the regular board meeting? Okay. You were
I didn't have
correct.
claims on there, did
I
I?
can't believe that, and I completely forgot about them.
That's bad.
It's
And
on
they
here.
had an
We
opportunity.
just skipped it.
Well, I was reading the agenda, not the table of contents.
So, yeah, I should have had that on there. That's
They
my
usually
bad.
both places, and I go with the shortest one.
Yep,
I should go with
yep.
one bigger print. Any questions regarding the financials, regarding the claims or the APVs? Chris? Okay.
Yeah, you probably noticed the debt service payment. Okay, I just want to make sure you saw that.
Okay.
What's
Hearing.
HF?
HF Group is actually the people out of North Webster that do repairs for a lot of older materials. And so they did some repairs on some of the minutes and those kind of books that we have dating back to the beginning of the library.
Excellent. Other questions? Observations with the claims? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the claims.
Was there another question?
Well, just so in Midwest State, just like 20,000.
That's hoopla. So last year we had it set at 12,000, and then we had to do an extra, I think, almost 2,500, and I just said it's only going to go up, so let's budget 20,000 for hoopla. And that's, Hoopla's owned by Midwest State.
I would make a motion, we approve the claims.
Mike has moved to approve the claims. Is there a second? Nikki seconds. Any further discussion, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the claims as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the claims are approved. Is there any other business? Thank you, by the way.
Is there another?
Mr. Bechtold, I appreciate that. Always gotten his eye on the checkbook. Appreciate that. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the regular trustees meeting. Oh, come on.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
It's been moved by Lori to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second by Chris.
Chris seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Chris, I'll let you take over.
Do we turn this off then?
No, keep it going, because it's a public meeting.
Okay. Then we will call the Peabody Public Library Board of Finance meeting to order and ask for anyone to approve the board of officers, myself president and Beth as secretary.
I move that we approve the slate of officers proposed.
Been moved.
Greg?
Greg, do we have a second?
Lori seconds.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the officers for the Board of Finance, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Okay, the only thing we need to do, the first thing we need to do is, I went through the investment policy and wanted to make sure that the Indiana code references were still correct. And I made changes where needed, and those are in red. I wasn't sure, there weren't that many. Do you want me to go through them one by one, Chris, or?
There aren't that many. That wouldn't be a bad idea, so we just hit them all.
Okay, so if you look at the very first page of the investment policy, you see in that first paragraph that I just indicated by a C and a 6, the actual location of those references. The same with the addition of the 36-12-2-22 under fiscal officer, and then investment authorized by the treasurer, and the actual IC code that it refers to now, because those do change over the years. Then if you look on the next page, it doesn't look like there are any changes. The third page, I think everything was okay again.
Fourth page as well.
Let's see.
I didn't see what
Yeah,
that's
just
first page.
first page.
Oh, well, you know what? It makes me wonder if maybe the other pages got printed. Well, no, she would have printed them colored. I don't know. So anyways, those are the changes I made.
Okay. So
So you need to approve the
do I hear
investment
a
policy.
motion, or have a motion to approve the investment policy with changes?
Greg moves.
It's been moved by Greg. Do we have a second? Seconded by Nikki. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the Peabody Public Library investment policy, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And moving on to then the investment report.
The only thing I have on the investment report is then you can see the statement of activity from the Community Foundation of Whitley County. We have two funds with them. One is the Peabody Library Fund that we actually use to fund programming. The other one is the Simon J. Peabody Endowment Fund, which actually Simon had specified that he wants any money from that to go through two capital projects. And we did get a huge payout last year from the endowment fund. It was just something that the Community Foundation of Whitley County now does, is if it gets up to a certain amount, they're just going to cut you a check at the end of the year and give it to you. So I think we received close to $25,000 last year from that fund for capital projects. So. And it's sitting at Star Financial now. It's on the cash balance sheet that you get in your packet every month. So those are the only things I mean, we don't really have any money to spend out of the Simon J. Peabody Fund right now, but you can see we have about $3,500 in the Peabody Public Library Fund that we can use for programming or whatever. Do you guys have any questions of me regarding that?
Yeah, did you want to talk about the other monies that we had at this point as well?
You mean the Julia Schultz?
Yes.
Money? I'd be
Yeah,
curious.
what I could do is actually have Dave, maybe once COVID subsided some, have Dave come and talk to us about the options available. I mean, as you know, the certificate of deposits they're not really doing so great right now anyways, but he might have some other tools that he thinks would be wise for us to use for the Julia Snodgrass, unless there is something you want me to do.
No, that's what I was.
Well, I'm curious too, is that a fund, is that a substantial enough fund that we should be seeing if the Community Foundation should be managing that as well? And make is it a substantial enough amount that it?
Honestly, we already have two endowment funds with the Community Foundation, and once you invest it, I mean, once you give them the principal, you don't get that back. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think I would rather see what we can do, because we need to be able to get to it if we need it, and we certainly, I was going to say, we certainly probably
But it
can
would
use
stay
it.
in the operating fund, basically, or is it just considered sort of an outside?
It's an outside, it's its own little fund. It's called the Julia Snodgrass
Okay.
Fund. It's all pooled, all of our money is pooled at Star Financial, but it's separated out. If you would look at the cash balance sheet, you'll see.
Okay, but
that-
for the State Board of Accounts purposes, since it's not tax revenue, it's not considered part of our operating.
No, it is not. It's
Okay,
separate from
That
that.
was the primary question I had.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Gotcha now.
From what you said, the intent was to use it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
You want me to just keep going, Greg, or Chris?
Well,
Sorry,
that was the
Greg.
investment report, so I think the
Okay.
next is the resolution for bank accounts and check signers.
Yes, and this we do every year as well. And did you want to, do you want this one? the actual one to read off, or you okay?
Oh my gosh, no, I got it.
Okay.
One time I didn't wear my glasses, I apologize. This is the Peabody Public Library resolution to approve the bank accounts, investment accounts, and check signer. Whereas the State Board of Accounts Internal Control Standards suggests the approval of all established Peabody Public Library accounts and check signers. Whereas the Peabody Public Library wants to comply with the State Board of Accounts Internal Control Standards to approve bank accounts, investment accounts, and check signers as part of the internal controls policy. Now, therefore, be resolved that all accounts held at Star Financial Bank, Lake City Bank, and the Community Foundation of Whitley County are approved as the library's financial accounts, and that the treasurer of the Peabody Public Library of Trustees is approved as the sole check signer for the Peabody Public Library, duly adopted by the Board of Trustees of the Peabody Public Library as its financial committee meeting on the 13th day of January 2021, at which meeting a quorum was present.
I will move that we approve the resolution, and if there's a second, I have a question, though.
Okay, it's been moved, do we have a second?
I'll second.
That was Greg that moved.
Moved by Greg, seconded. Do we have any discussion?
Yes, I guess my question is this, and I think it makes sense, and it's not that I don't trust Chris, but the treasurer is always bonded, isn't that correct?
Yes, he is.
That's what I'm going. Okay, nothing else.
Okay.
Any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Do we have to approve that as well? Yes, we do. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Resolution carried.
Yes, mine.
Okay.
Find two places again.
As we're waiting on the paper to go around, we have outstanding checks. So we do need a motion to approve voiding the outstanding checks that have been outstanding for 2 years.
I'll make a motion to void the outstanding checks.
It's been moved by Lori. Do we have a second? Been seconded by Nikki. Any discussion on those checks? So, I do have one though.
Okay.
Aflac did not cash a check.
Anna Ritchie did not cash a check.
From Anna, okay, so Aflac sent that too.
So what happened was, we took the money out to pay for what she had wanted, and then she left. So when she left, we reimbursed her for the money that she paid for Aflac,
Okay,
and that check did not get
okay.
cashed. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
All right, it's been moved and seconded and discussed. All those in favor of voiding the outstanding checks, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Outstanding checks are void. And approval to designate the Post and Mail as the library's notification newspaper. We have a motion to approve the Post and Mail, or designate the Post and Mail.
So moved. Greg.
It's been moved by Greg. Do we have a second?
Michael, second.
It's been moved by Greg and seconded by Mike. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval granted. And adjournment. And we have a motion to adjourn.
Lori makes a motion to adjourn.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Carmen will second.
Carmen has seconded. All those, oh, excuse me, any discussion on adjournment? No? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.